Hello and welcome to the Afri Dominion Show. My name is Freeman Singirankabo, and thank you so very much for joining our program today. Those of you joining us live, especially if you're joining us live straight from social media like Facebook and YouTube, welcome. We are so glad that you could join us today, and please share our program. Be sure to subscribe and follow any of our pages, especially if you find some of the content that are very close to your heart. And for the rest of you joining us live from radio stations or television, a huge welcome to all of you as well. And we hope that you can follow the program. And if you so choose to want to tune in live, feel free to come into our Zoom session. And we would love to have you as it happens. And with all of you, the conversation that we have here at Afri Dominion, we have them with you frankly, boldly, and with no apologies. And we do that because the issues of which we discuss each and every day, these are the issues that are very close to our hearts. We talk about them frankly, we talk about them boldly, and we absolutely ask no apologies to nobody. And it is in this spirit that everything you will see here at Afri Dominion, we share it all, we discuss it all, we discuss it, we scrutinize it in the spirit of truth, love, and trust. And these are the benchmarks by which we would love each and every one of you to scrutinize, to measure both the validity and the integrity of the content that we share with you. And with that in mind, guys, welcome. All of you, please join us if you can. We are live, and for those of you who do not know our broadcast time, it is from 12 p.m. to 1:30 Eastern Standard Time or Washington, D.C. time. If you catch us live, we would love to have you live with us so we can have a fruitful conversation. And I also want to let each and every one of you know that we also receive, or we would love to get some of you feedbacks, be it live feedbacks or after the show has completed. And we would love very much to hear from you. And for those of you who do not know how to get in touch with us, you can find us straight from our website, or you can call in. Either way, we would love to hear from you. Our website address is www.afridominion.com. www.afridominion.com. From the website, you can find our telephone information, our groups, and everything that can actually help us get in touch with us, especially if you want to give us a call or shoot us an email. However, our direct email is info@afridominion.com. info@afridominion.com. And with that in mind, we are looking forward to speaking with you, each and every one of you who actually found the program helpful. Furthermore, it would be a remiss if I didn't say, please support us. For those of you who found this program educational, helpful, we would love your support. Any support that you can offer us, we are taking it, and we take no apologies about it. Again, this is our own work by our own people, in our own voices. And so with all that in mind, I want to encourage each and every one of you who can do contribute, because it all starts with us. It all starts with us if we really want some changes. So the idea, what is Afri Dominion? Those of you who aren't familiar with the Afri Dominion show or the Afri Dominion as a concept, Afri Dominion, it's an idea that inspires, advocates, and encourages, as well as help a full and a complete, absolutely complete I thought that they had just cut me off. My apologies. Let me just repeat, because I lost connection in my ear. So the idea of Afri Dominion, it's a whole idea. It inspires, advocates, encourages, and help all of you Africans and sons, daughters, and descendants of Africa to have a complete and total dominion of Africa, one country at a time, for the interest of African people, primarily, and the rest of the world afterwards. So essentially, we are saying that we as African descendants, we want to take a full control of Africa. A full control of Africa, a total control of Africa. We want to take back the dominion of Africa. That's the idea. And that is you, king and queens of Africa. Those of you who have lost your true identity. So we want you to be able to actually awaken the giant inside of you and take back what is rightfully yours. And so the show, Afro-Dominion Show, in this show you can expect programs that inspires, advocates, encourage, and help each and every one of you to take that full dominion of Africa. Here we're talking about you, sons, daughters, and African descendants. And we're talking about also in your respective countries, one country at a time, all for the interests of African people, primarily, and then the rest of the world afterwards. Again, most of you may be wondering, why just Africa? Why not the rest of the world? Because Africa is on fire. The same way, if your house is on fire, you take care of you before you go take care of your neighbor. We are fully aware that there is a whole entire planet to worry about. But since our house is on fire and out of order, we need to take that control back, first and foremost, before we can even demonstrate that we are capable of taking back that control, capable of helping you wherever it is that you might be. So you can expect our show to actually discuss all of that, but also beyond discussion, we also have some action plans. We have some activities that we do off cameras. And if you would love to know what we are involved in, join our program or join our group. You find the information right straight on our website. We have a Telegram group. Please join it. You will find like minds. Get to know what we are up to, get to join, and let's exchange and make things happen. We've already started. It's up to you to join. We absolutely do not beg anybody, because this is a responsibility for each and every one of us, each and every one of you, sons, daughters, and African descendants. And with that in mind, this whole concept, the whole idea, we have broken it down into 5 themes mainly. And these 5 themes correspond to the numbers of days that we broadcast on televisions. So on Mondays, we talk about the eradications of African refugees and African stateless persons. Here we talk about the African refugees issues and those who are stateless within Africa and outside of Africa. On Tuesday, we talk about the Constitution, law, and policy review and implementations. Again, we are scrutinizing every line within these constitutions, within the laws and policies that are written on behalf of the people, whether they actually have interest of our people primarily instead of the outsiders. Anyway, we find that these interests are literally looking the benefits of the outsiders. We scrap that, or we advocate and we encourage and we help to change that. On Wednesdays, we talk about our testimony as Africans, and we get the opportunity to write our own history by our own voices, in our own voices, by our own people, for our own people primarily. Nobody gets to tell us what to say, what to write. It is us who actually get to say what we want to say. Nobody dictates you what you are going to say or how you are going to say it. So which means it's up to you. As long as it's truthful, we want to be able to preserve your testimony. We want to be able to preserve your history, your family history, your community history, your nation history for millennia. On Thursdays, we talk about the spirit of dominion. What is the spirit of dominion? Again, you may hear this word continuous. Dominion, dominion, dominion. What is dominion? Dominion entails that you govern, you control, you master, you manage. You take full control and full responsibility. The spirit of dominion is the spirit of governorship, the spirit of control, the spirit of mastery, the spirit of management. And again, here we are applicating it, or we are doing it, or we are exemplifying it, or demonstrating it on the continent of Africa. You having charge, you having full management of your resources as a country, as a region, as a village, as a community, instead of an outsider coming in and show you what to do when that resource is yours. It makes no sense how an outsider come in and becomes an expert in the resources that they do not have natively in their own homeland, but you have it. How did that happen? And that knowledge is the kind of knowledge that you need to awaken right back inside of you. Because you will never have all these resources if you do not know how to use it. The fact that you are not aware of how it's being used right now doesn't mean that it's not inside of you. You have to awaken it. You use to have it. It's dormant. You gotta wake it up. On Friday, we talk about the current events and its implication to Africa and African people. Again, here we talk about the issues that we care most about. It could be something from the mainstream media, or it could be something that you've never heard of before, but we feel that it's actually important that we get to share. And with that in mind, today, what do we want to talk about? Since it's Thursday, we want to talk about the spirit of leadership. And our conversation today, or the topic today, can we lead Africa without foreign interference? Can you lead? Truthfully lead? Can you manage? Can you govern? Can you control? Can you master? The leadership in your own nation, in your own village, in your own community, without outsider interference or foreign interferences. For centuries, Africa has been like a little farmland for foreigners to come and pick and choose, pick up some natural resources, pick up some slaves, and take them all back to their respective nations. Up until recently, in 1895, they even had an audacity to actually not only take the resources out, take the slaves out like they were accustomed to, but they decide now to actually have an actual personal property of the continent of Africa. How dare? How dare? I mean, when we hear of it, when we think about it, it actually baffles me. If you would not dare go to, taking over someone else's land, someone else's resources, completely eliminate, destroy, kill, murder the locals so that you can be able to take over the land, why is it okay for you to do it in Africa and to the African people? Since 1895, the continent of Africa has been like a lunch on a plate. Various nations, they had a meeting in Berlin and they decided, hey, I want to take this little piece for myself. Me, I want to take that little piece for myself. Me, I'm taking that piece, and so on. The entire Africa was literally sliced amongst foreigners. Up to this very day, Africa is still in control of foreigners. However, here we are, now we are saying we want to take back the leadership of the entire continent, the full management of the entire continent for the interest of our own people primarily. Now the question becomes, these foreigners who have been utilizing our resources, utilizing our human resources as well, are they just going to give it up like this? They've become addicted to our own natural resources. They take priority over everything you own outright. What is it going to take for us to actually take it all back without having some preconditions available? There is no need for preconditions. Again, let me flip the coin. Take, for instance, the United States right now. I live in the United States. The United States has a reserve of natural resources, all kinds of natural resources. They barely touch these natural resources. Why? Because there is Africa. Whatever they need, they can freely get it in Africa. Much more easier. Why bother taking their own natural resources, especially if they're thinking that they might actually deplete it? However, there's a need to deplete what's on the continent first before they actually utilize their own natural resources. Now, would you say that this is fair? All apples on the table. All things equal. Young people, I'm posing this question to you. And I'm frankly asking you this, and boldly asking you that, and with no apologies. So what must be done for Africans to assume both the leadership, the accountability, and the responsibility of the management of the entire continent without the interference of foreigners? We study outside of Africa. We pick up outside culture at the expense of our own culture. We pick up foreign languages at the expense of our own languages. In some cases, like in Rwanda, for example, right where I was born, they are almost making it illegal for you to learn in your local language because they privilege a foreign language before the local language. Right now, in 2022. And you would imagine with that kind of mentality, can you see yourself leading your own people? Can you see yourself manage the resources of your own land for the interests of your own people primarily before the foreigners? The majority of leaders in Africa, it is said that they work for foreign services. They work for foreign governments. And rightfully so, because foreigners, they give them money. They give them aid. The majority of African countries are actually using the aid from the outsider. And it buffers me. It makes me wonder, how is it that you actually have to get aid from an outsider to run your own home? What's missing? Is it really the aid that you need? Or that's one way to keep you enslaved? How much debt is Africa in right now? And who are the debtors? Could they be that it may be the same people who have sliced Africa as their own personal land, their own personal natural resources, and who insist actually that you continue to accept aid, especially when you don't even need it? The system of leadership or the systems of governorship that we have in Africa, are these systems working on behalf of the people? Or are they working on behalf of these foreign governments? These questions, we are frankly asking them openly. boldly asking them openly and with no apologies. Because if on one side we claim to be the democratic society, on the other side we are not truthful. You cannot take two apples and put them on the same table and measure them. What's the point of labeling that there is equality when the reality is the inequality is the standard? How is it that you Africans, you're privileged to study abroad and you import the education from abroad at the expense of your own education? And you impose the policies that you have imported from the foreign land to your own people, and take little time to study what your own people need and set up your own policies, set up your own laws according to your customs, according to your ways of lives. Wouldn't that be the more logical thing to do? How is it that your diploma, how is it that your license, how is it that you, whatever piece of paper that you have taken or that you have received from abroad is easily acceptable in your nation, but your own degree is never accepted in their own nation? Could that be some sort of superiority? Which means, since the rest of your own people haven't had any opportunity to study abroad, you appear to them like a little god. And that spirit of slavery that you also import back, you feel like you are above everybody else. There is a need, young people, to get rid of that. We are more capable to educate ourselves for the interest of our own people. You included and me included. Without having to spend billions of dollars, billions of euros. You can use your own currency. We can use our own currency. How is it that you leaders cannot set up systems completely independent from foreign systems, from foreign institutions? Who cares if the United Nations accept or accredit you? The need for you to have to join the United Nations, when the United Nations in turn doesn't really look after the very best interest of your local people primarily, isn't that absurd? Know when to join the United Nations and at what level, but do not let the United Nations run your own country, run your own affairs, run your government, set up policies to run your people when they know nothing about your local lifestyles. Anytime you feel like you are inferior in leadership and an outsider is the superior in leadership, you will not be in a position to take back the full dominion of our continent, to take back the full dominion of our nations. And you young people, you need to get your basic education from within your own countries. Take serious education, the basic that you need. Whatever the information that you have, be serious with it. You need not degree, you need not diploma, you need not expensive education from any of these Ivy League schools for you to be validated that you can manage the resources in your nations. Minding you that even these people who have these higher degrees in these Ivy League schools, they actually rely on you to provide the same information they need to make decisions, at which point you yourselves can do that too. You do not learn leadership from schools. The leadership is within you. It's born within you. But it must be activated. The school may activate the leadership within you, but they never give you the leadership themselves. So whether you are in an Ivy League school or whether you stay in your own village, with the right people, that leadership can be activated despite the location that it's activated in. And my question to you, will you do your due diligence and activate your leadership? Stop fearing inferior. You are not inferior to the outsider. In fact, you are superior to an outsider because you should know your own place better than an outsider. An outsider is superior at their own land, in their own land. When they come to your land, you are superior, and you should be acting like that. That's why we do not accept the vibes that you have to subscribe verbatim to everything that is dictated to you. Young people, we are in 2022. It is necessary that you take all this information seriously. It is necessary that you actually take your lives very seriously. Our parents, grandparents, and those who came before them, they may have missed it. They may have mishandled the affairs of our own people. But today we have no excuse to stay in the same shoes as they did. We have choices to make, and each and every one of us is going to be responsible for the choice or the choices that we are going to be making. So what do you choose? What choices are there in front of you that you have to pick from? When I see countries losing their leaders up and down, and when you read and you find out that a foreign institution, a foreign government has toppled another leader from Africa, you wonder, are we still slave to the extent that we actually submit to the leadership of the outsider, yet we call ourselves sovereign nations? If you're so sovereign, why can you not secure your own boundaries? Why is it that you cannot secure your own people? Why is it that you cannot secure your leaders? Why is it that you cannot have a service that actually can get intelligence and know who is the perpetrator amongst ourselves? Who are the sellouts among ourselves? And charge them accordingly through the court. Why don't we have judicial systems that work? The leadership in our judicial system, we may cry that it's broken, but what are we doing about it? And that brings me to the very next issue, the case of Rwanda. I love talking about Rwanda because that's my country, where I was born. Judicial leadership going bad at IRMCT. Can Felicien Kabuga get a fair trial? And for those of you who do not know Felicien Kabuga, there is a court. There is a court proceeding taking place right now at The Hague, and Felicien Kabuga is one of the wealthiest businessmen in Rwanda. I'm not sure if all his wealth hasn't already been taken. However, he's right now in the middle of a court, and he's being charged of many things. Let me pull up a file, and I will actually give you some scoops on what's going on. And for those of you who aren't familiar with the court, so the IRMCT is an international residual mechanism for criminal tribunals, and this is a court that replaced the international tribunal for the Arusha International Tribunal. Let me actually look the proper word so I do not mix it, especially that most of you guys are following or are listening to me. ICTR, International Court Tribunal for Rwanda. That's it. Yes. So this court has taken over the work from the ICTR or the Arusha Court, and this is a United Nation court that's actually taking the leadership in the judicial system when it comes to the crimes committed in Rwanda. So Felicien Kabuga, he's also one of the suspects, and he's going through a pre-trial right now at the ICTR. And today there was a court. There was a court at the ICTR today, and I actually watched a little bit of the court, and it was just I didn't have words for it, to be honest with you. I did not have any words for it. Now, for those of you who maybe want to have a little bit of background of Kabuga, if they can put maybe his picture at the on the screen so you guys can get a chance to see. So Kabuga was born in 1935. So he's an old man, really in his he's aging right now, and I believe according to my calculation, he must be around 87 years old today. An old man who's 87 years old. He's being dragged in the court over genocide, and his indictment is as follows. Let me actually pull it up so I don't give you the wrong information. So he has the charges in his indictment are as follow: one count of genocide, one count of direct and public incitement to commit genocide, one count of conspiracy to commit genocide, and 3 counts of crime against humanity. And then we also talking about persecution of political grounds, extermination, and murder. Now, one of the things that I really want to point out to all of you African, first and foremost, how many of you, 54 African nations, have actually had an opportunity to dig the history of what has happened in Rwanda, besides getting the scoops or getting the information from the mainstream media? The mainstream media owned by the foreigners, to be specific also. How many of you have actually had the time, the opportunity to do your own investigation, to do your own research as to what's been happening in Rwanda ever since the first day of October 1990 up until today, and specifically during the genocide, the 1994 genocide? How many of you have had the opportunity to do that? And I would submit that the majority of you, not only you haven't done it, but you're not even interested. That's not something that you have as something that you are interested in. And I would ask you if that's the case, because most of the information that is known about Rwanda, it's the information that was pre-broadcasted. by these mainstream media. Our own people have yet to actually give you the scoops, the information of what's been happening in our own nation until now that we are starting to talk. So now, in whose interest this information is going to spin? Now, I also want to put it out here. Absolutely. If you commit a crime, you ought to be prosecuted to the fullest of the law. I am absolutely for that. However, if you are going to be the judge, the jury, and the executioner, then we're now going to dance. Such is the case in a lot of our African countries, including Rwanda. So what am I saying specifically? For those of you who did not get an opportunity to take a look at the court today, I don't know if they can find us a video or something, a little clip of what that was like earlier. Because oftentimes there are some things that we say, and most of you actually don't get to think, don't get to actually take some time to think about it. And we really want you to stop being very critical to some of the things that we discuss with you guys, because it's not only important, but it's imperative that you guys get to follow. If you guys can switch the screen a little bit, just show them the video that you are showing me. So earlier at the court, I was following the proceedings, and one of the things that stuck out, one of the things that really stuck out was that Mr. Kabuga, who was taken in as a suspect during this trial, with all the charges that he has on his lap. First and foremost, the prestigious international court has not allowed him to have an actual lawyer who's looking in the interest of Mr. Kabuga himself. Again, we come back to that whole leadership. In this courtroom, you will not see Kabuga Felicien or Felicien Kabuga, Mr. Kabuga's family there. You will not see a competent Rwandese lawyer. You will not see a competent African lawyer. And you wonder, do we lack leadership in the judicial system in Africa? To the point where now all non-Africans are actually taking our own affairs in their own hand and deciding the fate of our own people. Why is it that there is no single African with an oversight of what's being done in this courtroom? All things equal. Whatever charges that we have on the table, fine. Why is it that us Africans, we cannot have leadership oversight to anything that these outsiders want to do or wish to do? Why is it that you have to accept to begin with that this control take place as it is? Furthermore, when Mr. Kabuga said, he said that he informed the judge that he has had problems with his lawyer, and his lawyer is Maître Emmanuel Altit. His lawyer hasn't been sharing with him his court proceedings documents for such a long time. And there is an audacity to tell him to go to court when he has no documentations as to what's happening in the court. Again, the lack of leadership. If your own lawyer cannot provide you with the very basic that you need in order for you to prepare, in order for your family to know what's happening, how can you, in good faith, say that this particular court is actually working in the best interest of Mr. Kabuga? We understand that his family had been refused not only to see Mr. Kabuga himself, but also to participate at the court. Again, I am having a hard time to understand transparency, truth, love, and trust. If a prestigious court, judicial system, doesn't have a leadership that is balanced, and none of the African nations can say, you know, there's something wrong with the way you guys are doing this thing. At which point can we actually assume the full responsibility, the full accountability of the affairs of our brothers and sisters back at home, even abroad? So, I was just telling you that Mr. Kabuga complained, and he wanted to get rid of the lawyer. He wanted to get rid of Maître Emmanuel Altit. And of course, the judge asked the lawyer what he had to say about that. And the lawyer said that, oh, I have visited my client. In fact, a few days ago, I saw him. That's one. And then he said that he's working with dedication and the most professional way in order to defend Mr. Kabuga. He then, however, said, but if you want further explanation, we have to go in private for me to explain to you. In other words, Mr. Kabuga has been given a lawyer. This the same way you can shove it in your throat. You take it or you leave it, this is what you got. If you're being forced to have a lawyer, you are being forced to go to court, you are being forced to have a representation. You have no choice to select your own representation. Seriously, guys, what's wrong with this picture? Let me flip the coin again. Picture someone very famous in the United States being taken to Rwanda to be tried. And the Rwandese people choose a lawyer for him or her. They shove it in their own face by force. They next say none of your family can actually come for proceedings. We know better. We can do better. It is what it is. What would be wrong with that picture? Can you even imagine a scenario like that taking place today in 2022? All things equal. Again, let's speak frankly. Let's speak boldly and with no apologies. Can you see a United States citizen who has committed a crime in the United States, transferred to Rwanda, transferred to Burundi, transferred to Kenya, Tanzania, Ethiopia, whatever nation within the continent of Africa, being tried according to the way that the African themselves see it fit? Would you see that happen today in 2022? I submit to you that the answer will be hell no. What is wrong with our leadership? What is wrong with our leaders? Why is it that we cannot look after the interest of our own people? A lawyer says that I saw him. That's sufficient enough. The client explicitly say, I have not been shared my court documentation. You can see me say, hi, how are you? We're doing great. We see you tomorrow at the court. That is not sufficient. I want to see, what are you charging me with? I want to see, what is your defense? What is your strategy? How do you intend to speak on my behalf? You don't see that. And again, it comes down to the whole superiority and inferiority. I know better than you, so you shut up and you sit down. Guys, don't you see what's happening in 2022? In 2022, we're not talking about the 60s. We're certainly not talking about early 1900s. We're talking about 2022. The whole superiority and inferiority concept in the judicial system, you can see it flat open. And all of you are literally quiet, silent. What's wrong with that picture, young people? How can you boldly stand for your own people, speak on behalf of the voiceless, if you cannot assume your own responsibility? If you cannot assume the accountability of your own affairs? If you cannot secure your own people? If you cannot take the lead, be it in judicial system or what have you? It's unconscionable, guys, that in 2022 we can witness something like this openly, and nobody finds anything wrong with it. I personally find everything wrong with it. Again, I do not mind going in front of any judge anywhere around the world, so long as apples to apples, everything is equal in front of the table. All things equal, take me anywhere you want to take me. However, do not bring in equality and then claim to have justice. What does it mean? We are dedicating. We're working with dedication, in most profession, and in the most profession way, to defend Mr. Kabuga. It's like they're doing him a favor. We don't need favors, Africans. You got your own brain. You've got the so-called generation who have gone to school, put the test to whatever it is they have learned in school. Some of you might say, no, I don't want to go for my own reputation. Shame on you. If your own people are in trouble and you have the tools and the equipments to get them out of trouble, not only you have an obligation, but as a citizen, it's a must do. We all have a duty to one another. We all have a duty to the continent and in your own respective countries. But we also have a duty to our fellow citizens, brothers and sisters. Unless you're a sellout, or unless you're looking after your own immediate interests and you can care less the rest of everybody else. It is sad that in 2022, you can see a theatrical, prestigious court taking place. And we have the audacity to say that this is a balanced and fair and balanced judgment. Young people, you better take notes, because this is just a beginning. And it's up to us, it's up to you to take actions. Leadership is important in all aspects of our lives, be it judicial, be it economic, be it social, be it in government, being in your own house. You've got to lead, you've got to manage. Do not be intimidated by the word leader or leadership. Leadership is nothing more than management. How do you manage your own affairs, your family affairs, your community affairs, in the interest of the community, of your family, of yourselves? First and foremost, before anybody else. Because that's why you have those resources. So I'm wondering, how is it that now one single African nation has set up a court that can actually take the lead in prosecuting every single perpetrator who's committed a crime in Rwanda? Now, there's something that I want to read you out that actually spotted out. And I want to ask this question, and I am seriously going to ask you this question. So in one of these paragraphs on Mr. Kabuga's indictment, it says here, Kabuga is further charged with aiding and abetting Interahamwe, who killed and harmed Tutsi and others in Kigali, Gisenyi, and Kibuye prefectures by having provided material, logistical, financial, and moral support to them. Are you listening to that? And now, I'm going to ask you a question, especially you, the international community, and those of you who will know that I'm talking about you. Now, my question becomes, who is going to be charged with aiding and abetting the Rwanda Patriotic Front, who killed and harmed Rwandans from October 1st, 1990 until July 19th, 1994, by having provided material, logistical, financial, and moral support to them? Who is going to be charged? Especially that the same charges now apply to just one man. And I suspect that you actually have some evidence. We have plenty of evidence, including bodies of those deaths that have taken place from October 1st, 1990 all the way to July 19, 1994. It gets better. Who is going to charge the Rwandan Patriotic Front, who killed and harmed Rwandans from July 20th, 1994 until now? Again, when we talk about justice, and we only have one-sided justice, young people, I was just a kid back in 1990. I never understood. I had not one single clue of what was happening in my own nation. I'm a grown person today. I can read. I can analyze. We ran interviews. It shouldn't take a scientist. You do not have to be a genius to realize that what was happening and what has happened to Rwanda, it is deplorable. It's a complete failure of every single nation around the globe. The true suspects are walking free. They are literally walking free all over the world. The true masterminds are walking free all over the world. Take, for instance, the weapons that the Rwandan Patriotic Front used to invade the Rwanda, the nation, to kill the people. Those weapons did not fall from the sky and bam, they were given to them. Isn't that logistical? The money that they have used, They did not use Rwandan francs. They used foreign money. That's second. The moral support and the training. The Rwandan Patriotic Front were trained by the very known nations, the very known military. And today, nobody can talk about that. Young people, we have so much work to do. And I keep on saying you young people because our parents, our grandparents, our forefathers, our grandparents, they are tired. They can no longer do anything about this whole mess. Even though they started it, even though they've participated in it, today we have inherited the same mess. We have no luxury. We do not have any luxury at all to just push the bucket to our children, our grandchildren, and the other offspring that's coming later. This is crazy, guys. This is crazy. Take this old man, Mr. Kabuga, all alone in a courtroom, hasn't seen his own family. His supposed lawyer doesn't do justice the way he would like it to be. And you, the international community, you can actually have the audacity to say that, you know what, we're doing it. This is just. Again, we're watching you. We are those children who were in Pampas 30 years ago, 20 some years ago. We are watching everything that's happening today. Not only we're not happy, but you will be held accountable at the right time. You cannot claim to have a fair justice when everything that you're doing is unfair. That's what I call leadership going bad in the judicial system. And that's where I ask our brothers and sisters in Africa, what are you doing? What are we doing today to take back this leadership? Be it in the judicial system, government, economic leadership, social leadership, all of that. What are we doing? You know, history is going to write so much about us, especially in this century. And I thank God because today we no longer have to rely on one-sided history. They used to say that the conqueror is the only one who gets to write history. It isn't so in today's world. We have started writing our own history for our own people, in the interest of our own people, primarily. And we're writing the full history to the best of our knowledge, without omitting anything. Because the lack of who we are, the lack of knowing our own history, has also contributed to our ignorance of what's happening right now on our own homelands. We have a responsibility, people. We literally have a responsibility to do right by our own people, especially old men like Mr. Felicien. There are so many Felicien out there. Guys, I believe that he had a bounty of $5 million from the United States. This man, if he's really that bad as they claim, why is it that we cannot actually see everything up in the open publicly? Why the need to have some private sessions, things that could potentially harm the court? Why having classified information? Why not allowing the family members to be a part of it? What's the difference that a master condemning a slave just because you have the full property rights to that slave? Are we still slaves? That's my question. Or are we still regarded as slaves in 2020? To the extent that you have the audacity to judge us without any of our own preferred representation there. This is beyond crazy. This is beyond crazy. And we're actually allowing it to happen every single day. Why? Because again, that whole inferiority complex. We are more than capable to set up a leadership that can actually run a judicial system that is not only fair, but balanced. The question is, what have you been studying for if you cannot measure up to the task? Why boast about all these beautiful degrees from these Ivy League schools if you cannot take on a simple task of helping your own people for the interest of your own people, not your personal interest? We know most of us, we go for our own personal interest first and foremost before we go for the interest of our nations, for the interest of our villages and communities. In this day and age, there is a need for us to unify. We have a common enemy. With our unity, we're still going to go another 200, 300, 400 years. And it's imperative that all of us, we get to wake up. It's imperative that we get rid of all the people, all the systems that are not in the interest of our own people. Get them out of the way. Set up our own systems that are actually looking after the very best interest of our own people. Set up the leadership in all sectors that is actually looking after the interest of our own people primarily. Nobody else is going to do it for you. Is it easy? Hell no. It's pretty hard. But can we do it? You betcha. We can definitely do it. And we are doing it, and we are going to do it. One way or the other. The question, will you be a part of it? We need all of you guys. We literally need all of you to get this work done. Especially that a lot of you are super asleep, which is so sad. It will be a remiss if I didn't talk about another issue equally important. Leadership going bad in the judicial system also in Rwanda. We were just talking about how for the past 2 years, there is just a rumor, there's just like a buzz talking about the lack of leadership in Rwanda. No executive powers whatsoever. And the judicial system takes zero action. Every single individual who talks about it end up dead, imprisoned, disappeared, or beaten up. And again, you get to wonder, what exactly is it that we must do for us to realize that, hey, wrong is wrong no matter how you dress it. There's a term in Kenya, Rwanda, that they call gutekinika. So it actually has been entered in French dictionary. So basically, if I mislead you, in Rwanda today, we no longer call it a lie. We have techniqued you. Do you understand? In other words, the foreign minister, Louise Mushikiwabo, she has explained thoroughly that in Rwanda we do not lie with technique, aka gutekinika. In other words, it's acceptable nationwide to lie so long as you don't get caught in it. And as a matter of fact, we do not lie. We just choose another route completely different from you. If we do not have that moral compass, if we don't have a starting point, if we no longer subscribe to truth versus wrong, where are we going as a society? And how is it that the international community can actually see this with absolutely no oversight? They're injecting money, resources, training in the country, and they actually see the fruit of what they are doing. How would you score yourself as an international community? But also you, Rwandese people, how would you score yourselves? It's really crazy. The Paul Kagame that you sing of every single day, that he's the most amazing individual, Pan-Africanist, has brought Rwanda from ashes right back to the development. Who are you killing, guys? Again, I ask the question, especially you Africans in particular. Have you done your own research on what's been happening in Rwanda from 1990 up to date, besides what you may have heard from any of the mainstream media services? Again, I submit to you that very few of you have done such a research. Which is why I would tell you that Mr. Paul Kagame is no Pan-Africanist. He is certainly a leader under the leash by the outsiders. Though he has also realized that at some point he has to let loose, but he still is controlled by the outsiders. He dances to the beats played by the outsiders. Rwandans follow the policies set up by the outsiders. Why? Because the outsiders are helping the country primarily, especially if Mr. Kagame is to stay out of jail. He absolutely has to continue to kiss behinds of the outsiders. The crimes committed by the Rwandan Patriotic Front, the crimes that they already have in archives, just in the queue for the right time, again, for the right time of the outsiders, when their interests seem to be right on point, when they can actually use it for their own benefit. Not when you Rwandese people, not when you Africans need to know the truth and nothing but the truth. All that knowledge is there. Rwanda is just one case. The whole entire Africa, most of it, it's like that. So young people, whose bed are you sleeping in right now? Especially ignorantly. Will you say that you never knew? Are you going to play the dumb card? We are taking the time to say research. Do your due diligence like your life depends on it. Because what's happening today in Rwanda, it's coming right in your neighborhood tomorrow. As most of you have seen. What's happening to Mr. Kabuga, it's happening to all of you tomorrow. So long as you do nothing about this whole charade. How is it that a competent court spends more than how many years? From 1994 to today, how many years is that, guys? Think about how many, 20-some years. A competent court. Not only, it's not even an African court. A United Nations set up court. For 20 plus years cannot render justice. Justice for all. Not justice for one side. On behalf of Rwandan people. On behalf of Africans, even on behalf of the whole entire planet Earth. We share the moral compass. How do you have the audacity to say that you can continue to do that, and you think that even though you're doing it right now, but it means zero to some of us, because we know you render no justice. Especially if we flip the coin, you would not subscribe to the same conditions you have been setting up for our own people. Never mind the charges. Keep the charges. Do not omit anything. Let's flip the coin and put you guys on the stand as well. Because very soon is coming. The same charges, for instance, on Mr. Kabuga's files. You can attribute it to many of you. Foreigners who are free and enjoying your lives in your own respective nations. We know most of you. From presidents of nations all the way to ambassadors, and some of you who were strong and older in seniority enough to execute and be a part of the planning of what has happened in Rwanda before the war, during the genocide, and post-genocide. These are the things we are seeing. We're starting to get the information, and history is going to judge you. Now, you young people, it's imperative that you wake up. You must wake up. This work is not going to be carried out by the United Nations. If you truly are looking for leadership, a fair and balanced leadership, it is up to you to get it. Absolutely not the United Nations. The United Nations was a part of the suspects that were harming the Rwandese people. In case you don't know, especially you young Africans. The United Nations openly was helping the Rwandan Patriotic Front. Facts. How is it that they have yet to be brought to any of the court system, competent court system, set up by the Africans themselves? They are witnesses. various nations, starting from Uganda. How is it that you can never see Uganda in any of international court systems of its role in the killings of millions of Rwandans, let alone the Congolese people? The Ugandan leadership, how is it that they have yet to face justice? 31 years passed, and we're still counting. Where is justice? But it's easy to pick on someone like Felicien Kabuga, few of those Rwandese people, and just dump everything on them. Why? Because nobody's gonna find them credible enough. Why? Because they have no ears to talk. Because not only you're running the system itself, you are the system, you're running the system, you are the judge, you are the jury, you are the prosecutor. And you call that fair. We want a leadership run by our own people, for the interest of our own people. And that is fair and transparent. That's why I keep on saying to you young people, we have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of work to do. Anybody who sleeps with the enemy, you know what happens to them. Again, flip the coins. Take any of these nations that have colonized Africa. Pick any of the nations. Would you do the same thing would you do in these nations, the same thing these nations are doing in Africa? Or better yet, would you do the same thing to these nations, the same thing that they are doing in your own nation? Don't even talk about Africa. Just pick your own little country. Again, I gave you an example of Rwanda. Recently, the way the United States runs Rwanda, can actual Rwanda run the same thing in the United States? It's a hell no. It's impossible. And I wonder, why is it that it keeps on happening? Because we allow it. And because we somehow feel like we are inferior to the United States. Whatever they say, it's yes, sir. Just like a slave says yes, sir, to the master. There's no difference, frankly speaking. Real talk, let's talk. So when enough is enough with these guys? This charade has to stop at some point. Even if it means that some of us, we get to lose our lives while we're doing it. We have known many assassinations of those who wanted the better for Africa. Plenty of them. Even up to this very day, assassinations are still taking place. Again, if we cannot have our own leadership, whereby you can secure your own people, your own leaders, your own nations, we are still doomed. And we have to be able to change that. If you have to rely on the security, on the leadership of the same perpetrator who is actually killing you, whose joke is it on? Whose joke is it on? And I submit that the joke is on us. Whether you know it or not, there is a need to have independent, absolutely independent oversight of everything that we do. Everything that we do. So young people, we have a long way to go. We literally have a long way to go. We cannot allow these nations to actually not only remove the humanity from us, take away our dignity, take away everything that we stand for, just because they can. Where do you find yourself in? It's crazy. I don't understand how we can actually live like that. And we claim that we have lived a fulfilled life. I am so glad to have an amazing guest right now, which I really would like that we get to talk for the remainder of the time. Can you hear me? Hi, Donatien. How are you? You are actually on. You are on mute. I can barely hear. I cannot hear you. If you get on mute. Okay. Can you help him get off the mute, please? There you go.
Okay.
Hi, Donatien. How are you?
I'm fine, Freeman. How are you? Thank you.
I am so fine. I'm so glad that you actually have a chance to drop in. For those of you who do not know the guest, Donatien is a son of Felicien Kabuga. And I'm so thrilled that actually he was able to join in right now, even though I wish that we could have spent all that time speaking to him if it was possible. But I also want us to make another program related to your dad. Donatien, can you tell us today what is that your family has witnessed today as far as the proceedings of your dad? Where do you guys stand as a family?
Yes. Thank you, Freeman, to give me this opportunity to talk about the situation of my father.
Yes.
As you know, my father is detained in La Hague by the international mechanism, which is part of the ICTR, the International Tribunal for Rwanda. And so it's been almost 2 years that he's detained and his trial hasn't started. But we know that our father, as I have clients here in Kinyarwanda, in another emission of your, and I have explained that our father has worse problem, that health problem, that he has problem of confusion. He has as well as physical and mental problem, and we don't think that he's fit for trial. So I would say that we were sure that he's not fit for trial. Not just question of thinking. So we have been waiting that the judge of the tribunal take a decision about that. We're still waiting. It's almost 2 years that we're waiting, but we know he's suffering. He's not supposed to be there. And one of the main problem of our father is that he doesn't have a lawyer in which he can't have trust. He doesn't a lawyer he trusts. You know, his lawyer doesn't report to him. His lawyer doesn't care about his interests. He doesn't visit him. And my father has asked to change that lawyer, but he has been decided. He has been till now. He has been denied that right, and so we're still waiting. We're still waiting, and today, I don't know if you know, there have been what is called a status conference. He appealed in the court, and once again, even if we know he's very confused, but he has in the mind the fact he knows that he doesn't have a lawyer in which a lawyer he trusts.
That's
because the lawyer doesn't care about his interest, you know.
I personally actually heard him literally telling the judge that the lawyer that was assigned to him, Mr. Altit, that he has not communicated with him for such a long time. And it actually bothered me that his defense was like, I was just visiting him. Your father was saying, I have no idea. I don't have access to documentations. I don't know what this man is doing. I want him changed. And they decided to go in private or in a closed session to discuss why basically your father's statement was pretty much irrelevant. That's what I got all of it, even though I have no idea what they have spoke in the background. Donatien, would it be possible that we can actually program a much more in-depth conversation of what's happening with your family? That way the international community can actually have an idea of what's happening from you as a family, because I didn't get to see any of you in the courtroom. Why were you guys not there?
In the courtroom, we are not there. Initially, we went there because of COVID, but it's okay. We can understand that because of COVID, the public is not allowed. But I think now it could be possible. I don't know if they still allow till now the public to be present, but the main problem is not even the fact not to be in the courts. It's the main problem is the fact that our father has not got trust in who he trusts. So that's the main problem, and our main problem is the fact that our parents, our father, is not meant to be there. He's 90 years old. He's
not physically or even emotionally
mentally,
fit.
Yes. And this is torture for us. This is torture to maintain him in that situation. We know that he's innocent. We've been claiming since many years that he's innocent. But we know, of course, that it would be better to be a trial, a fair trial, to prove his innocence. But what we can say now is that anyway, a trial is not possible because he's not capable to defend himself, and moreover, he doesn't have a lawyer he trusts. That's a big problem. So we still fight. Thank you to give us the opportunity to say a word. And of course, as you just mentioned, we are ready to organize a special discussions to explain this deeply. And it will be a pleasure to explain to the public the real problem.
With pleasure, Donatien. I promise you, even all of you Africans, we will definitely run a special, because it's important that we actually get to say the other side of the story that is never showed to you guys. And this is Rwanda has gone through similar problems over these past 30-something years, whereas the story that's being told, it's a one-sided story. And today, our generations, we were just then babies. Now we are grown enough to say, no. This is not fair and balanced. This is imbalance in all aspects of life. And we want to make sure that, that we actually rectify that as expeditiously as possible. Donatien, I want to give you a quick last word, and then we will just go ahead and finish our program. And I'm promising you that we will absolutely program an exclusive conversation with your family, so that actually the entire world gets an opportunity to know the other side that's never presented about your family. Any last words, Donatien?
The last word is that we need fair justice. We need fair justice to have peace in our country. We need justice. And particularly for my family, for my parents, the justice is to respect his condition, the condition of his oldness, the condition of his health, and if he can't, if he's not fit for trial, this must be respected. And we as Rwandans must do our best. We must get up to fight for justice. That would be my last word.
Thank you so much, Donatien.
Thank you for giving us this platform, for giving us this opportunity to speak out. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. I would do it over 1,000 times. And that goes to all of you sons, daughters, and African descendants. We are here for these reasons. We are no longer going to be silent, especially all those of you who are voiceless. We have an obligation to our families. We have an obligations to our communities. We have an obligation to our nation, even our whole entire continent of Africa. If we are going to take the leadership, we are going to literally do each and everything that we have to do, but we're going to have to do it together. And with that in mind, thank you so very much to all those of you who have been following our programs today, those of you watching us live from the televisions, those of you listening to us via radio stations, and those of you who are connecting to us via social media. We truly are appreciated. Be sure to leave our comments, visit our website, afridominion.com, or shoot us an email at info@afridominion.com. And we would love to have you on our very next broadcast, because we have so much to say, guys. We have so much to say. Keep on saying that this is our season, this is our time, and let's act like it. And with that in mind, I am Freeman Singirankabo with Afri Dominion Show. Until next time, goodbye for now.